this morning. Trevor, welcome, and you have the floor. Perhaps you
Thank you.
could thank you.
Thank you very much. Good to see you, everybody. And welcome from a very rainy UK this morning. It's been very, very hot, and suddenly this morning it's decided to rain. So, welcome to you all. I'm delighted to see you from around the world. And whatever your time zone, whatever your place, it's a real joy to see you. And I really appreciate that you've made the effort to be here for such a vital subject. In fact, I don't think there is a more important subject when I look at the world today. Addressing the development of a young person's heart and character is probably the most defining issue of our time. It will affect absolutely everything, everything. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk generally about the generation we're in and the challenges it faces. I'm going to talk to you about kind of understanding what the Youth Compass Project is aiming to do and how, and then right at the end, I'll talk very practically and say, look, this is how you can use it. So if I start at the end, basically the Youth Compass Project is for free. I've made it for free online for any young person in the world. So I want it out there. And this morning we are continuing that ongoing mission, if you like, of getting this in the hands of every young person possible. So I think as Ivan was suggesting, never has there been such amazing potential amongst young people at any time in human history. And such potential, like the engine of a car, has the potential for good or the potential for bad. Africa has got the fastest growing youngest population of any continent. 70% of sub-Saharan Africa are under the age of 30. 70%, you imagine, of people walking down the streets, coming into the job market, the community markets, families, whatever, 30, under the age of 30, 70%. Now, fueling this is also a growing wave of disillusionment. And one of the things are scarce jobs. 53 million youth, more than 1 in 5 in sub-Saharan Africa are not engaged in any form of employment, education, or training. 3/4 of people in one study said it was difficult to find a job. 2/3 are dissatisfied with their government's efforts to create employment opportunities. And Ivan said, even people like the World Bank are saying one of the greatest risks now are the unhappiness of young people because of these issues. And a survey which polled more than 5,600 Africans between the ages of 18 to 25 in 13 countries also found that 4 out of 5 were worried about corruption, most notably in government and the private sector and the police. Now, I spent over 15 years living and working across sub-Saharan Africa, founding emerging leaders. And I've asked one of my dear friends from Kenya, Peter Watheka, I kind of asked him, I said, give me an update from your point of view, Peter. Peter is now lead trainer and head of community partnerships with emerging leaders. And this is what he said. I asked him, what is it that young people are seeing right now? And he said the first thing that young people are seeing is that corruption is normal. They see police taking bribes from matutus. They see bribes for illegal businesses, illegal brews, gambling, drugs, public service positions, favors being asked in exchange for money. They're seeing it all the time, every day. It's shaping the mind of the young person. So what is the implication when you see corruption every day of your life on your heart and character? Well, a couple of the implications are people conclude that doing the right thing does not pay. And you cannot succeed in life unless you are corrupt, unless you cheat or pay someone. The second issue he noticed is that violence and injustice have become a way of life. And what is the message here that people are getting? They're seeing unlawful arrests, they're seeing gang violence, mob justice, they're seeing domestic violence become normalized in the home. And what is the implication on a young person's heart and character? Well, they're saying, power is about force, it's not about fairness. Don't trust anyone. Everyone is out for themselves. The third thing that he noticed is that hopelessness and short-term thinking are overtaking a young people's mind. What is it they're seeing every day? They're seeing unemployment all around. They're seeing people hustling in survival mode without any long-term plans. They're seeing talented young people giving up on their dreams and lack of opportunity. And what does that do to their heart and their character? What's the message? Well, the message the young person is getting is, why try? Why bother? Nobody makes it from where I live. If it doesn't pay today, it's not worth doing. And the last point was this is a mistrust of authority and leadership. So what is it that young people see? They see leaders exploiting positions rather than serving others. They see NGOs or projects that promise help and then disappear. So what message does that give to the young person's heart and character? It's this, that leaders only care about themselves. Good leadership doesn't exist. Don't waste your time. So this is the tough news. But what I want to bring to you on the Saturday morning is only hopeful news, because only hope changes lives and communities. And let me say that again, only hope changes lives and communities. That's why I called all my early programs Leadership for Hope, because that's what we need to facilitate change in our lives. So this morning, I'm delighted to welcome you on this life adventure, and it can start today, and it's called the Youth Compass Project. But in order to explain that, let me go back right to the beginning. When you are born, you're like an acorn seed. You are full of life force. I use that word life force because you've got this energy, you've got this creativity, you've got these desires, you've got these hopes. All of that is like a force, like inside a seed. It's full of energy. You want to live, you want to breathe, you want to grow, and you want it to be safe enough to do this. Every human life carries a unique DNA, not just in the cells of the body, but also the soul, the deepest part of who you are. And there is no one in this world like you. No one can become you. So you've got unique potential. So you're like that acorn seed, full of potential and energy. You are packed with it. And it's not just some people are, every young person is packed with this potential. And that seed, that acorn seed, your potential, wants to become fully what it is. So the acorn wants to become that 400-year-old oak tree. And if the conditions are right, it will become what its potential is calling it to. For a seed, the good conditions are good soil, water, and warmth. And for us as humans, it's the physical basics of food and safety. But it's much more. We want to be seen. We want to be encouraged. So my deepest question to you is, why are you here on this planet at this time? Why are you here right now in this time of history? It's not an accident, and it's for a reason. So the answer is, you are here to write your unique story on this earth, to go beyond yourself, beyond self-centeredness, in order to benefit the life of others, to contribute to recreating, to remaking a better world, and to leave behind something of value. We call it legacy. Leave behind something from your life that the next generation can build their lives on. Now, you and I can become part of the world's problem, or we can become part of its solution. Let me say that again. You personally this morning can become part of the world's problem, just another statistic, just another person enacting hopelessness, or you can become part of its solution. And we are all being called, like that acorn to become an oak tree, we are all being called to lead a life that leads, writes your own story, not somebody else's, loves, so goes beyond yourself and contributes to others, and leaves a legacy, so contributes something to a life that is of such value that it will move to the next generation. I haven't touched on this. Let me give you the full quote. Nelson Mandela once said, "What counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived, it is what difference we have made to the lives of others that will determine the significance of the life we lead." And he went on to say, men and women all over the world, right down the centuries, they come and they go. Excuse me. Some leave nothing behind, not even their names. We don't even remember their names. It would seem like they never existed at all. This is the tragedy of a human life, is that you come and you live and you leave nothing, and people don't even remember your name. You know, there are two things that are certain about life. The first one is that you will die one day, which means that every day, every breath you take matters because life is short. Every day and every breath and every action you take, you are building something or nothing. So we're all going to die. That's why this Youth Compass project that we're talking about today matters so much. But the second thing is you are going to become someone. Now, I said you were born with a life force. So you're going to grow physically and you're going to grow older. So you're going to age. But who will you become? Because you are going to become someone. People are going to look at you and they're going to look at your heart and then they're going to look at your character and all of the actions and the attitudes and the emotions that come out of you into the world. Every day, your character is going to get shaped. Let me tell you about the word character for a moment. So the word character literally comes from the word to engrave. I put a little picture there of someone engraving. See, they've got a sharp tipped piece of metal and they are carving a name into metal. That's called engraving. Your character is what you engrave into who you are, your thoughts, your feelings, your actions. And the idea of an engraving is it will last a lifetime. It will last a very long time. So that's what character is. Every little decision, every action you take, every habit you form today is like engraving your name. It's engraving your character. This is who you are. And why does it matter? The famous Greek philosopher Heraclitus, he said this. He said, character is destiny. Let me say it again. Your character is your destiny. So you want to know what your future is going to look like? Look at your character. If your character is corrupt, if it's angry, if it's selfish, if it's just about you, if it's stuck in hopelessness, that's what your life will become. Your character is your destiny. You can look at it in business. If you start a business and you start it on the basis of lying and corruption and cheating, that's what kind of business you're going to end up. You're going to end up with a business that will fail because nobody is going to trust you. It's the same in politics or community leadership. If you go into community leadership just for your own gain, just for your own selfishness, just to make money, just to get power, then it's going to fail because nobody's going to trust you because they're going to say this person is just out for themselves. So we are all becoming someone. We are all shaping our heart and character every day, and that heart and character will be your destiny. So today does matter. Every decision you make matters today. Every single bit of it, because it's going to shape your life. It's going to show you where you're headed, where your heart and character are headed. You know, we tell people to look at their exam results, don't we? Or we tell people to look at the number of followers they've got on Facebook or TikTok or Instagram. Or we tell people to look at how much money are you making, or how big your house or your car is, or how beautiful your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your children are. You know, how many people are being wowed by you? That's the message we are given. But no, says Heraclitus, no, none of these things are going to determine the ultimate shape of your life, your relationships, or your contribution in life. It's your heart and your character. Now, none of us are perfect here, not one of us, me included. We are all a work in progress. The question is, what direction is the progress going in? Am I becoming more trustworthy, or am I becoming more corrupt? Am I becoming more hopeful? Am I becoming more hopeless? We are all becoming someone every day. Now, when you go on a journey, you start by deciding what the destination is. And the same is true for your becoming. Who do you want to become? Who do you want to become? But there are no maps for our journey because no one has ever been or will ever be you. So you have to write your own unique story. You know, when explorers set out on an unknown journey where they've got no maps, they used something very special, and it was called a compass. And that compass always pointed north. They always knew where north was, so they could always work out where they were and where they're going. So a compass will always point you in the right direction, even if you don't know the exact details of what lies on the road. A compass is something that you can hold up every single moment, moment by moment, footstep by footstep, decision by decision, and it will point you in the right direction. So the same is true regarding who you're becoming in life. The life ahead of you is going to be full of mountains and valleys, rocks and rivers, deserts and oceans, highs and lows, successes and failures. And all of these things that will happen in your life are simply a classroom. You know, a classroom is where you go to learn. So life now becomes your classroom where you learn to become who it is that you are seeking to become. Life becomes the place that shapes our destiny and our response to life. You know, fatalism is where you give up and you say, what's the point? Let me just let life take me where it wants to. Let somebody else write my life story. But fate is different. Fate is where you learn to use every single thing that happens in your life today as a classroom to build your heart and character. So someone starts talking to you about someone else. Well, then you've got an opportunity, haven't you? You've got an opportunity to shut down that gossip or enter that gossip. Someone shows you an act of corruption and asks you to lie or cheat about something. You've got a choice. Someone's in distress. You can either ignore them or you can show kindness to them. Every single thing that's going to happen in today is a classroom that you can use. Simple example, someone offers you help to cheat in your exams to get a better result. But if you want to become a person who is trusted in life, who builds honest business and trusting relationships, then the choice that I make at 18 years old about that exam and cheating, that choice is going to shape my destiny. So if you hold up who you want to become, what kind of a person do you want to become? I want to become someone who's kind, who is generous, someone who people can turn to, some people that will come to when they're in trouble, someone who is trustworthy, someone who builds a legacy, someone who my children want to be with. If you hold up who you want to become like a compass, then every single decision, every single event, every dilemma, every challenge, every success, and every failure in your life, you will able to say, I've got no idea what's going on here, but I know who I want to become. I know who I want to become. I'm holding up that compass. I know the direction I want to go in. Or the other side, because we are equally at risk when we have high moments of success. You might say, I'm really enjoying this moment of great achievement, but who is it I want to become? Do I want to become proud and arrogant and now become lazy and just kind of assume everyone's going to be there for me now as a result of the experience? Or do I want to become someone with a deeper heart and character? Someone who becomes a mentor, someone that other people can trust. Or a third example, you might say, I've never experienced so much pain or difficulty in my life as I am right now. But this is who I want to become. So this is how I'm going to respond to my difficulties right now. So this is what I mean about a compass for life. So you can learn and start to learn to lead your life at any point starting today. But it makes sense to start as young as possible. That's why when I created Emerging Leaders, I wanted to get it to as young a people as possible so they could learn to lead their lives. We even created a program called Lead Now so we could start with 7-year-olds saying, look, this is how you can lead your life. So you could set a direction. You could set an intention. You could set a vision of who you want to become. So from an early age that you would start engraving your heart and your character and shape your destiny earlier in your life than later. It makes sense to develop the habit and the practice of holding up this life compass to where you want to go and learn to shape your heart and character in every little decision and reaction you have each day. Ask yourself, do you want to become an angry, defensive person or a kind, empathic person? Do you want to become a father or a mother that your children love to be with as a source of wisdom? Or do you want to become a father or mother that your children are frightened of and stay away from and don't respect? Do you want to become a person of courage or do you want to become a person of fear? Do you want to become a kind person or an unkind person? Do you want to grow into your potential or do you want to just play life safe? Do you want to just take from life or do you want to contribute to life? Do you want to love or do you want to be selfish? Who do you want to become? Now, to help me on this journey of life, I looked at the life of the late wisdom of the late Nelson Mandela, a man who led his country, South Africa, to freedom, who became a fighter for justice for all, who helped countless people to find the help that they needed with HIV/AIDS, for building democracy, for championing diversity and unity. He was a global elder and an example for millions. Now, let me just share with you 4 things I learned from my study of the life of Nelson Mandela. 4 things I discovered. Number 1, becoming. Nelson Mandela did not start out his life as the Mandela that we came to know and love. He became Mandela. As a young man, he was arrogant and angry and full of his own insecurities. But he became the person that we grew to love and request. And most of that becoming, that learning, came through his response to the classroom of suffering. So that gives all of us hope that we can change. Even me at my age now, I take great hope that I can change when I look at Mandela's life. I can keep on choosing who I become even today. Second thing I learned from Mandela is every day we need to work on shaping our heart and character. Every day. You know, even in those 27 years when he was in prison on Robben Island, hidden from the world, not knowing if he would ever come out or even live, every day he took out his life compass, and for 15 to 20 minutes every day, he would think through his attitudes and his actions from the day, and he would make adjustments so that the next day his heart and character were just that little more on track with who he wanted to become. The third thing was what I call learnable. See, everybody looks at Nelson Mandela and goes, wow, he was great, he was amazing, but he was once off. There'll be no one like Mandela. There would be no one to become like he was. And of course, he was unique for his time and his generation, and he was unique in his gifts and what he brought to the world. But this is what I learned from him. All of the qualities that we admire in Nelson Mandela, you can learn, every one of them. So you can become your own unique version of Nelson Mandela. So I've distilled 22 qualities of Nelson Mandela, and you know what? You can personally learn all of them, and they will shape your life. They are available to everyone. And the fourth one, start young. You know, I think the secret of Nelson Mandela was that this life compass was embedded in him when he was very young. He was surrounded by elders who he respected, and he learned from them the values of wisdom and heart and character and courage. He learned them from those people. So he knew what a good compass was pointing towards. He knew what, from a very young age, who he could become. He could see where his moral compass, his heart and character needed to be set. He could see that becoming an elder, a person whose life would become a model of wisdom, of heart, of character to the next generation. He could see all of this role model to him as a young person. Now that is why this project is called the Youth Compass Project. Because what it does is it makes available to you today for free, just as Nelson Mandela's elders laid before him when he was young, a compass for your life, a compass pointing to a vision of who you can become, a curriculum of all of the qualities of heart and character that Mandela learned so you can learn, and a daily practice to develop your heart and character. And it's going to shape your personal destiny and hopefully many, many people around you. Because the amazing thing is, once you start positively working on your heart and character, you will see your impact on many, many people around you. When you change, you will change the world around you. I guarantee it. When you change, you will change the world around you. So this is the Youth Compass Project. Now, let me just give you a warning before I kind of dig into a little bit more about practically what it is. The Youth Compass Project is not a fast fix. I have people who've tried to start the Youth Compass Project thinking, oh, great, I'll do this in a few days and I get a certificate. That is missing the point. The Youth Compass Project is a program of lifelong learning. I'm still using it every day in different ways in my life. You will be working on your heart and character every day of your life. If you did not feel physically fit and you went to the gymnasium this morning and worked out, would you be fit by lunchtime? The answer is no. Well, if you went again tomorrow, would you be fit? The answer is no. If you did that day after day after day and no days off, in a few months' time, would you notice that you were getting fitter? Yes, you would. If you did it for a year, would you be fit? Yes, you would. If you did it day after day for the next 5 years, would you be really fit? Yes, you would. And that's what we need for this generation. We need young people who've got fit in their heart and character because they've been working on this heart and every day. You see it because someone who you think is of good character gets voted to be your local politician, and the next thing you know is they're corrupt. It's because they didn't have the muscle of heart and character developed. So start now and start developing that heart and character. So we need a daily practice, and that's what the Youth Compass offers you. So that when someone offers you a bribe, you've got the muscle to say, no thanks. No thanks. I asked this guy, Peter, that I mentioned at the beginning, I said, what, because he's been running pilots for me on the Youth Compass project. I said, what do you think, why do you think young African youth need the Youth Compass project? And so this is Peter speaking out of Nairobi. He said, I believe that young people, especially those living in informal settlements, need the Youth Compass project because many of them grow up without any structured guidance on who they are becoming beyond basic survival. They face daily challenges, unemployment, crime, hopelessness. And while technical skills help, what's often missing is the inner leadership, character, purpose, resilience, and self-awareness. The Youth Compass project offers a clear, practical framework that helps young people lead themselves first, build a mindset of contribution, develop their heart and character, and think long-term about their legacy, not just their next meal. He said, I believe that heart and character must be central to a young person's development in Africa because skills without values become dangerous. A young person might learn to be an entrepreneur or whatever technical skills, but if they don't have integrity, if they don't have resilience and humility and a sense of responsibility to others, they will either misuse or give up too soon. So he said, in our context, where corruption, shortcuts, and hopelessness are everyday lesson on the street, building strong character is what allows a young person not just to survive, but to lead, to stand apart, and to build something that lasts. Without shaping the heart, development becomes surface level. So I asked him, I said, Peter, I said, you've been running these pilot projects in the Youth Compass project. I said, what is the feedback? What is the feedback from people who've actually been through the Youth Compass project? So let me read you what he said. This is all quotes from lots of different people. He said, I used to live day by day, but now I think about the kind of person I want to become. Someone else said, even though I'm young, I now believe I can guide others to make a difference. Someone else said, I've set real goals for myself, even if things around me look tough. Someone else said, I don't just go with the flow anymore. I make choices with purpose. Someone else said, before the Youth Compass project, I didn't know why I was here. Now I feel like I've got a reason to keep moving forwards. Someone else said, I've faced things I used to run from, like apologizing and asking for help. Someone else said, when I fail, I don't give up. I try again. Someone else said, the training has helped me see hardship as part of my growth, not just as bad luck. Someone else said, we can't survive alone here. I've learned that my well-being depends on others. And I could go on. The list is long. So here it is this morning, an invitation to you to do two things. One is begin this journey in your own life of the Youth Compass project. And the second thing is to get it into the hands of many young people in Africa and across the world as you can to shape the next generation of young leaders. So let me tell you quickly about how it actually works. So that's the logo. And under that is the website. How does it actually work? So all you do is you go to the website and you click on it, click on the website, and you'll see this picture. Welcome to the Youth Compass project. And let me stress again, it's free. It doesn't cost you or anybody anything. And if you're going to share it with others, don't make them pay. It's for free. Now, on this homepage, you will see that there is a 2-minute video. See there, a little video, you click on that. So you click on that. It's hopefully Ivan sent you the link and you may have seen it already, but watch it again. It's just over 2 minutes. So then what you do is you register. I put a big red line around that, start the Youth Compass project. You click on that and then you will move into registration, which simply asks for your name, which country you're coming from. And I think it asks you who recommended, excuse me, who recommended this to you. The thing about the Youth Compass project there, that gives you an example of just a registration. You put in your name and an email address. And you can invent a password for yourself. I don't get to see any of your passwords. What happens when you register, you get a personal welcome, and I mean personal. I actually personally welcome every individual who signs up for this. So you'll go in there and you'll see there are 6 modules. The preparation, then there are the next module 2, 3, 4, and 5 look at these 22 different characteristics that you can work on. And then the last one is, how do you actually then live this in the world? What do you need to commit yourself to live that in the world? The bottom one you see there is upload your learning log and receive your certificate. So as you go into this, let me just click on this. So this is module 1. So module 1 talks about welcome to the journey, talks about how to use the workbook. It talks about how to do this as a group of you to support each other, and how to maybe invite someone like an elder that you all respect to just supervise and mentor you on the journey. The 4th one is, how do I use today and what happens today to shape who I become tomorrow? Then it gives you an example of a learning log, and then just an explanation of who was Nelson Mandela, in case that's not clear to you. So each lesson that you go on, it's got a short video explanation of me explaining the lesson. It's got a written explanation, which if you're working in a group of people, you can print it off. So only one of you needs a smartphone or a laptop, and the rest of you can just have it printed, printed off. Then it gives you a set of questions for you to start thinking and really reflecting on your own life. And then it gives you a place to log or to enter or keep your reflections. Now, the key thing about this, as I said, is don't rush it. I've put a block on it. You can't do it faster than 1 lesson a week, just to slow yourself up. Take as long as it needs to take. This is your life here. This is not just about a certificate. Certificate won't mean a thing if your heart and character hasn't changed. So take your time. Help each other, support each other, share. What are you learning from it? What are you learning? Have discussions with your friends. So you can do it on your own, but I think it's quite powerful to do it with a small group of others as well, to support and encourage you, and you become a mentor to others going through this process. But it's like everything. It's like, it's like if you're feeling sick and the doctor gives you medicine. If you don't take the medicine, it won't make you better. You can do the Youth Compass project, but if you don't put it into practice, it's not going to change your heart and character and your destiny. So don't rush it. Take your time and then reflect. One comment just about the learning log. One thing I see with some people filling in learning logs is they just give headlines. I'm not interested in headlines. I want to know the detail. I want to know that you actually went and apologized to your mother for the way you spoke to her last week. Not, I'm just trying to be a more forgiving person. Be specific. What exactly did you do? Say, write down specifically. My friend Joe asked me to take a bribe this week, and I had the courage to say, no, thank you. Write it down. Be specific rather than I'm trying to avoid corruption. Because the more specific you are with the learning each day, the more you're going to develop and engrave this heart and character into your life. So this is the Youth Compass Project, and it's a lifelong learning, and it will shape your heart and character, and it will shape your destiny. Absolutely guaranteed if you put in that investment of your own lives. So build it brick by brick. And what do you do at the end of it? Yeah, you can send in the learning log and you'll get a certificate, but that's not really the point. The point is you need to then go back and start again. I would suggest once every 6 months or 12 months, you go right back to the beginning and start again, because this is lifelong learning. And you want to embed all of these qualities in your life. I am still having to practice every day, and I'm coming up to 68 years old. I'm still having to embed these lessons about trustworthiness, about being more courageous, about not giving way to fear. Every day I still have to be learning these lessons. And that's what I want to encourage. So I'm going to stop there now, and I'm going to open up the floor to questions. So
How can people who are not friends, colleagues that are on the call, who are not necessarily young people?
okay, thank you. My question is this, is how old are you? How old do you start working on your heart and character? So all I'm doing when I say youth, I'm thinking, if you are, um, let's say if you're 18 to 35, then you're definitely young. But if you're 35 to 55, you should still be doing this. If you're 55 to 75, you definitely need to do this. Nelson Mandela began this practice of 20 minutes every day when he was in his 60s. So my point is, I'm just saying begin young. I'm not saying it's just for the young. So start young, start aspiring. So otherwise, what we're going to end up with is 35-year-olds or 45-year-olds who still haven't developed their heart and character. And it's still going to then create problems for that generation. So the whole point of the Youth Compass Project is for everyone. So I'm saying it's for youth because it's divine, so you can begin there. But every human being on the planet, if you don't work on your heart and character, it is going to shape your destiny one way or the other. Who you are going to become will shape your destiny. So this is an issue for every human life, the whole thing. Now, if you want to just have a further investment, so my book, Becoming Mandela, or the podcast, there is a podcast called Becoming Mandela. You find where you get podcasts and type in Becoming Mandela and put my name in, you get a whole podcast, which is like 20 odd episodes of just going through this for you as, middle-aged people, whatever. But I just see the Youth Compass Project as where we begin. I don't think it's where we end. We end when we die. So I want to see everybody doing it. I want to see everybody doing it. I want to see every person who's doing it, who is of a certain age, mentoring young people. All of us should be involved in this. But the thing is to begin. Otherwise, what we end up is with a 45-year-old thinking, well, I don't need this. How can a 45-year-old not be needing to work on their heart and character? Because the 25-year-old is looking at the 45-year-old and saying, well, they're not bothered, are they? So we have to, all ages, engage in this question.
Okay, thank you very much. Tuelek, I'm going to invite some questions, but you're unmuted now, Sylvester. Sylvester is from Minnesota, one of those people who did the Leadership for Hope program that you trained in Trevor, and he has been conducting it in Minnesota and also across Africa. Welcome, Sylvester. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Good
you
morning, Sylvester. Good morning.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ivan, for arranging this meeting. And I want to thank Trevor for having ideas like these that transform lives. I have learned a lot from the Leadership for Hope program. Just like you said, it's lifelong. Even when I think I've understood it, I have to go back and learn some more.
Mhm.
Now, about today's program, I think it is so exciting. I just want to say something. When I do a program in Uganda, it is so easy to set up. In America, it is very hard.
Okay.
People have no time.
Mm.
And the young people here are so disconnected from adults. I think it is about the technology, the social media. It is very hard to get people, to get 10 young people in one room.
Wow.
Even when you go to a school, the school may give you audience, but it's very hard to hook the young people. And I don't know how it is in the UK, but I want to say in the US, it is so difficult.
Mm.
So when I go to Uganda, it is easy to go to a village and have 200 youths mobilized in 1 week.
Yeah.
And of course, when I'm in Uganda, the resources are cheap. But here in America, I'm running from this job to keep, to keep things going. Then the limited time you have, nobody shows up. And so, Trevor, would you say something into that? How can a program like this be a global? How do we put, what have you put in there to help me get these young people in a room?
Very good. Very good, Sylvester. Thank you for sharing your question. And it's a question I think about every day. So, I understand the difficulty, the encouragement when you're working in Africa. Often you can mobilize lots of people, and that was my experience for many years with emerging leaders. Is exactly that. And then I came back to the UK and tried to do the same thing, and hardly anyone wanted to know. And even now, talking to the new CEO of Emerging Leaders, he said I can get 5 or 6 people together at a time. And so it is hard. It's very hard. But so one is, I think we have to just keep going. So I even with the Youth Compass Project, I've had launch meetings that were meant to happen and then they didn't happen, and then people didn't turn up, or they promised 30 people and I ended up with 3. So it is difficult. And I think ultimately, Sylvester, it is an issue of our own heart and character. Is why am I doing this? And I come back to, I'm doing this because it's important. So even if I can influence one person today, even if out of even this whole morning, one person actually starts doing the Youth Compass Project and it changes their lives, and that life changes 50 other lives, then it was a good morning, wasn't it? So I think we just have to keep on beginning where we are and finding ways, looking for, like in the States, trying to find where is the energy? Where do people meet? A friend of mine in the States sat down with some university students, and he just sat down with them in their college over lunch and just got talking with them. And then he said to them, where do you go with all of these questions about life that you have? Where do you go? Who do you talk to? And they said, well, we don't have anyone to talk to. And he said, how would it be if I came once a month and just sat down with you, and you can ask any question you want, and we just talk about these life questions? And they said, oh, we would love that. So I think all the time, Sylvester, we are looking for where is the opportunity, where's the energy. But the worst thing we can do is give up. And that is an issue of heart and character. That is an issue of, I know I keep coming back to Mandela. Nelson Mandela, he was in prison for 27 years. He never knew he was coming out. He didn't know whether he would ever come out of prison. He certainly didn't know if he would come out alive. So what did he do? He just kept doing the right things. That's heart and character. He just kept doing the right things. He was influencing other prisoners in prison and talking with them and mentoring them. And so I don't have one answer for you, Sylvester, other than to say, take courage. Take courage and just keep talking with people like myself or whatever. And I'm happy to connect with you or by email or whatever, just to encourage one another to find little ways of beginning.
Rajab Juma says, what will be the measure of progress that I expect when I'm undertaking the journey of the youth campus? That's a dialect question. Betty Shana says, thank you for the engagement and targeting, especially the young people, and how to improve lives. So there's a question here, how to measure progress when I'm undertaking the youth campus project that is specific, that to changing lives, heart, and character, Trevor. How do you measure progress?
Yeah, well, I think progress is measured in your life, isn't it? It's measured in your behaviors. It's measured in your reactions. So I think every act of kindness that you take where you didn't take it before, every act of forgiving which you didn't do before, every act of establishing a stronger purpose in your life when you hadn't before. So I would look for the measures in your heart and in your character. That's what I'd say is, where is my thinking changing? Where is my response to this situation changing? Where is my reaction changing? Where is my action changing in each of these situations? Can I look back and say, do you know what? Over the last 3-4 months, I can see I'm being more patient than I was before. I can see I'm being less fearful than I was before. I can see that I have a clearer sense of purpose in my life than I did before. So that's how I would be looking to measure it. Not by some numbers or anything like that, I don't think. And it's, I keep saying it, you got to do it. I mean, I can't see how many people are on this call right now. Is what I want to see, one of the measures I want is, let's say there's 50 of you on this call. I want to have, because I get it. When you sign up on the Youth Compass project to do it, I receive an email and I respond to that. So I receive an email telling me that you've just signed up. And I respond to you personally and write to you and welcome you. So one of the measures for me this morning is, if there are 50 people on this call, is I'm going to get 50 emails by the end of today saying 50 people have signed up. Because if you don't sign up and you don't begin, then nothing's going to change. And I did a launch event somewhere in Asia with this, and it was a great meeting and it went really well. But you know what? Virtually nobody actually took the step of signing up. And I think I saw a message from somewhere else in the chat box. Well, how do I begin? And the answer is, go on to www.youthcompassproject.com and begin. Sign in. Watch that little video, sign in, register, and begin. Get a few people around you who've also begun. And great. So John has put the link in the chat box to Youth Compass Project. Just begin. I always used to say to people, if you want to walk from Kampala to Nairobi, is a long way. But if you take the first step today, and the second step tomorrow, and the third step the day after, and the next step the day after, in a week's time, you will be closer to your destination. But if you sit here today and just say, oh, it's such a long way, it's so far, then you're going to be as far away today as possible. My friend Peter, who I think is on the call, but not, he told me once, he decided to take himself from a very challenging situation to get education because he hadn't been able to finish education. So he began. And all his friends were going, oh, what's the point? Don't you bother. Don't do that. Of course, a year later, when he's actually got the certificate, They're all going like, wow, that's amazing. How did you did that? And the answer is he took the first step. He took the first step and he did it step by step. So we have to begin. We have to begin. Otherwise, nothing in our heart and character and our destiny. That's what I keep saying to you. Your heart and character will shape your destiny. So begin today. If you want your destiny to be shaped positively, begin today.
Yes, hello. Ivan Kalema, mister. Am I loud and clear?
You're loud and clear, dear gracias.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Trevor. It's a pleasure that we have been able to make this happen, have this kind of youth campus project, the first of its kind, yes. In line, I thank Mr. Mugabe Sylvester for his input and Mr. Trevor, your response to him. Now, when we look at the same point of how difficult he finds it organizing like 10 heads, the youth, for training, we can easily relate it to what happened, Mr. Trevor, in 2014 when we planned actually to organize training for teachers as
Yes, I
a
remember.
specific,
Yes,
as
I
a
remember.
specific category of professionals. You know how challenging it was.
It was.
Yes, I personally and a team moved from school to school, from preschool, secondary schools. We ignored the tertiary institutions, yes. But by the end of the day, you remember how the turn-up was.
I do.
What is the implication then? And how relevant would it be? How would we relate it to what Sylvester is going through while in USA? That, first of all, like you said, and truly so, we were born differently with different human temperaments, yes?
Yes.
That's one. Secondly, it brings to me and people who could be seated in the same corner as myself that different personalities from different backgrounds, from with different education, we could think of other kind of factors to consider may be handled. It would be better to be handled differently. Let's give an example that these youths, they could be the general public in a rural setting, may need to be approached in a different way from those ones in a town setting. You will find it relatively easy to get these youths together, 200, any number. We have organized 500 before, 600 and so on board, than one will find it actually organizing a similar number in a town setting. Why? Because the numerous challenges of life in villages, in rural settings, are totally different from those ones in towns. Then those ones who are educated, for instance, high school levels completed, tertiary institutions and so on, may also have different challenges and therefore may be handled differently from those ones who could have dropped out of school, for example, from primary schools, pre-primary and things of that nature. So when it comes to organizing these youth, we may need different approaches. We may need to carry out actually baseline surveys and look at grounds on which one can easily stand to mobilize and by the end of the day to have the objectives set fully achieved. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dewo.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing your experience. We'll see how we can harness that as we go on.
Yeah, just let me say one thing is,
Okay.
I mean, first of all, I want to honor Deo Gracias. Deo Gracias single-handedly almost made it possible for me to train hundreds and hundreds of people across Uganda. So this guy knows what he's talking about. He's not talking theory. And the second thing is, Winston Churchill was a leader in British history. He said, when you find yourself in hell, keep on walking. And what he was saying is, when things are really, really hard, the temptation is to give up. And what he said was, you've got to keep walking. You just have to keep walking all the time. I have this every day. I try this, it doesn't work. Okay, well, let's try this. Does that work? Well, okay, that didn't work so well. Well, let's try this. That's what it means to persevere. That's what resilience means. That's what having a purpose in life means. And all of those issues are issues of character. That's why this issue is so important. Back to you, Ivan.
Okay, thank you very much, Trevor. Let me just read some more comments as we come to a conclusion. Juliet Namarome, pharmacist in Kampala, Uganda, saying heart and character are very important, but what do you do in a space where good and strong character is considered naive and stupid? Because where I am, you rarely get anywhere unless you are unscrupulous. Let me give you an opportunity to Trevor to give your parting shots before I call in Claire to give us closing remarks. Thank you. Trevor, over to you.
Yeah, I only have one closing remark to everybody. It is begin. Begin. You have to start. Once you start, then things change. When you don't start, nothing changes. Take the first step. And the first step this morning is, I'm just typing it in again, Youth Compass Project. Yeah, .com. Go straight from this conversation and begin. And day by day, like, just imagine you've signed up to go to the gymnasium today because you want to get fit. That's what this is. So my encouragement is to you all. I feel so passionate about this. I feel it is the most important issue and investment we can make in this generation, because everything I see around me in the world right now comes back to problems with heart and character. Every single issue comes back to problems of heart and character. And so this is the most important investment we can make. This is the most important generation we can invest in. And because this is not just the future, but the present. It's not that 70% of Africa will be under 30. It's that they are now, today. This issue is with us. So let's work together. Let us work together on this.
First and foremost, I would like to thank Mr. Trevor for the whole session and everything. It's really a life-changing session. Me personally, undergoing through all these other issues that he has talked of, indeed it is a changing session for me personally. Like, let me say, like in Uganda, truly for us youths, there is really a lot of things going on up and down concerning employment issues and all that, coming out, studying hard, getting all those papers. And like he said, that there's too much of corruption going on, like in the whole places, and especially truly, where we are, it is also there. And of which getting employment issues is really a hard time thing. Like in relation with corruption, it's most of the times basically on who knows who and who is related to who most of the times. But all in all, the life has to keep on going. And I thank him a lot for this session and having me here. And Mr. Ivan, I thank you so much also for inviting me on. And I thank God that I met you, and to get to experience all these, getting encouragement from people above me and all that. I really appreciate a lot. Thanks a lot for having me. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
I want at this juncture to have some friends here who are in the room with me here. There's Teddy, Jimmy, and Alan, who are also joining us here with me in the room. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ivan, and thanks, Trevor, for this wonderful presentation. I was just chatting with Ivan that this is really, really deep. And Ivan, when you first reached out to me, I actually asked you that what is this about? Who is the target audience? But I think those questions have now been answered. And I'm just thinking that this is something that can actually be scaled up.
Mm.
Corporate organizations could take it up, even private entities, NGOs, alumni associations, entities like Rotary. So for me, I'm seeing that this is something that can actually be scaled up, and we need to work towards that. I'm going to work with Ivan and see how we can propagate this to reach out to as many people as possible. So, Trevor, I just want to thank you
Pleasure.
for
Nice to meet you, Herbert.
the great work that you're doing to transform people's lives. Please keep it up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.